The quality of Vande Berg Scales equipment is pretty robust, especially compared to the units we've had in the past. They are, I like to say, they're very beefy. You can really abuse them and they're going to last, which I thought was going to be just an exaggeration. When they told me about how great their quality is, I thought, okay, sure. But no, these things can stand quite a beating, which is nice compared to the issues we've had in the past with other companies. Yeah, I found the ease of use for the Vande Berg equipment to be comparable to the other equipment we've had. They have very similar kind of layouts, they're very intuitive, so they're definitely in line, I think, with what the market is like for all the different scales. And our employees all have a pretty easy use with them. There's not any real confusion, which has been nice. It's been kind of a seamless transition from our previous brand to this one. The washdown capabilities of the equipment is pretty robust. We wash down the equipment every day that we run, so they're constantly being hosed down fully, which is inherently rough on any equipment, but this stuff lasts really well compared to other things we've had in the past that start to rust, I would say, prematurely. The Vande Berg equipment is still going strong, which is wonderful to have one less headache to worry about. So some of the great features we found with Vande Berg versus our previous supplier for a labeler is the durability. So our previous equipment, when you touch the frame, the weight started to jump up and down, which I find kind of being a very big red flag of the quality. You shouldn't be able to just like lightly touch the frame and then your weights are jumping up and down, and the multitude of headaches that causes, along with constantly having to replace parts. It seems like once the warranty ended, suddenly every week something's breaking that we need to replace, and you're just drowning in all these parts orders, which have been kind of problematic to say the least. And then it's also been a little easier to use with the Vande Berg, with the way it's laid out for entering the data onto the labels. So that's been a bit nicer as far as that goes. But the quality, I think, has been one of the biggest standouts for us that we struggled with in the past, is just parts breaking prematurely, load cells going out in the first year, which most people tell us isn't normal. Vande Berg's been there helping us out with the layout design, which has been a huge help and a big burden off our shoulders, trying to figure out what are all the 100 different pieces of equipment and problems to try to look ahead at that we need to battle. So that's been a good experience for us. Yeah, communication with the VBS has been really well. So they're definitely patient to work on my timeline as I'm trying to juggle a lot of things on a day-to-day basis. There's times where I've taken maybe a little longer than they probably would have appreciated to get a response back, but there's never been a complaint on their end or any pressure to rush the process at all. They've been good just replying with emails or phone calls, whatever form of communication I kind of preferred, which has been nice. The equipment knowledge of Vande Berg has been really good. They definitely know all their stuff. The few times we've had to talk to the service department has been really well. They responded really quickly, gave pretty good answers to maybe problems we didn't give a lot of detail to, that they just kind of knew intuitively what we're trying to get at, and that's been very helpful. Talking to someone that's willing to take the time to kind of understand and give you a good heads up on where to go and try to troubleshoot things. The creativity of Vande Berg scales has been pretty good. We gave them a blank slate for the most part for our labeling side of our cleanroom operation, and they came up with a good plan on how to make that fit together well with our layout. We just kind of gave them the dimensions of the room, and they're like, hey, how does this look? And that was a nice way to go. Same thing with the custom conveyors. They gave some ideas on how that could lay out. Same thing with our produce inspection conveyor. We kind of gave them the gist of what we're looking at, and they were able to kind of fill in the gaps and, like I said before, polish it to something that looks nice versus just going by the letter. They're able to kind of give some input on what could be a better use of the space and what are maybe some hiccups down the line to try to avoid with how things look. So I look forward to working with Vande Berg scales. They're definitely our preferred manufacturer for the labeling and conveyor systems that we have. It's been nice having a one-stop shop for all of our needs on kind of the back end of our line and even on some other processes to be able to just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking of, what are your thoughts? And then just having that cohesiveness where we, instead of juggling multiple brands of labeling and so forth, it's just nice to have one company you're just working with. Doing comparison between the Vande Berg weight price labeler and our old one, the Vande Berg is, can't stress enough, a much better quality build. It can take a beating, not that we're moving around ever, but it gets banged into here and there. We are trying to be flexible to the process where sometimes we will slightly shift our equipment around as things maybe break down temporarily, and this thing can be moved and not bend and rust and break.